Okay, so buckle up, everybody. Gotham City, right? Always a wild ride, and this deep dive is no exception. You guys sent us The Next Generation, Batman's Legacy.
A movie treatment.
A movie treatment, yeah. New heroes, Batman's Legacy. Oh, and the Joker, of course. Let's see what this story's all about, shall we?
I'm ready when you are.
So right off the bat, no pun intended, this isn't the Batman we're used to.
It's not, and that's what grabbed me. This treatment, it really tackles Batman's, mortality head on.
He's injured.
Injured, sidelined. He has to pass the torch, which really makes you think. About aging heroes. About what happens next. Who steps up?
And speaking of stepping up, that new generation, they are something else.
They are.
So we've got Robin, obviously, but all grown up. He's not just the sidekick anymore. This treatment really leans into his skills, the acrobatics, the fighting, but there's this added layer of responsibility, too.
A weight on his shoulders.
Exactly. And the treatment does a great job of showing that. There's this scene, right, where he confronts these thugs, and you really get a sense of who he is now. Let's jump into that scene. I think it'll paint a picture.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, so picture this. Bustling Gotham Street, a little rough around the edges, and you've got this lone street vendor being hassled by these thugs. And out of nowhere, Robin appears, leaps from the rooftops. Classic Robin move.
So cinematic.
Total cinematic moment.
Yeah.
His cape, the whole thing. So he lands between them, all dramatic, and says, "That's enough. Walk away." Just boom, authority, right?
Right.
But the thugs, they're not backing down that easily. One of them, he actually scoffs and says, "You think you're Batman? This ain't your playground, kid." Oh, and Robin's response. He cracks his knuckles. I'm talking, you can practically hear it. He says, "Batman taught me well." And what follows is a whirlwind of punches and kicks. Robin takes them all down, and it's so smooth, so precise. And then, he helps the vendor to his feet, asks if he's okay. And the vendor, all grateful, says, "Thank you, you're a good kid." But the look on Robin's face, he watches those thugs limp away, and you can see the doubt creeping in, is good enough to be the next Batman?
That scene, man. That scene says it all. Robin, he's confident, he can handle himself. But there's that pressure, that legacy bearing down on him. It's a lot to carry.
It is. And then we have Nightwing. And talk about mysterious. The treatment really plays up the secrecy. He manipulates shadows. I mean, visually, can you imagine?
Oh, yeah. It's a unique power set. Never seen that in the Batman universe before.
And it makes you wonder, where did that come from? What's his story? Luckily, we get a glimpse in his scene. Dark alleyway. Classic Gotham setting, right? And there's this group of criminals dividing up loot.
Classic criminal.
Classic. And then Nightwing just emerges from the shadows, he's almost invisible in the darkness. And he says, "Don't you know it's rude to steal in my city?" And his voice, I'm picturing it as this chilling whisper. The criminals, they're freaking out. They can barely see him. And then he does this thing where he extends his hand, and the shadows around him, they just come alive. They coil around the criminal's legs, bind them. One of the criminals, he's struggling and yells, "What is this? Who are you?" And that's when Nightwing steps into the moonlight. His face, it's masked, but his eyes, they're glowing. And he says, "You can call me Nightwing." Then poof, back into the shadows he goes, leaving those criminals totally terrified and us wondering, who is this guy? What's his deal with the shadows?
So much mystery, so much potential.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then we've got Batgirl. And I gotta say, it's so refreshing to see her intellect and her tech skills front and center. She's the brains of this operation.
Yeah.
And her scene, it's pure Batgirl. High-tech control room, screens everywhere, data flashing. And she's hunched over a keyboard, fingers flying, trying to track the Joker. But he's slippery, right? And she lets out this frustrated sigh and says, "He's always one step ahead." But then, bam, like a light bulb goes off. She starts typing furiously, and you can practically see the gears turning in her head. And then, with this triumphant grin, she says, "Gotcha." She's traced the Joker to this abandoned amusement park. Classic Joker, right?
Yeah.
All chaotic and creepy. But why such a public location? What's he planning?
She's not just reacting to the Joker, is she? She's thinking ahead, trying to predict his next move. It's that strategic mind that makes her so valuable.
It does. And then we've got the wild card. Red Hood. Dark past, violent tendencies, the whole 9 yards. The treatment doesn't give us a ton on his backstory, but there's a hint, just a hint, that something went down between him and Batman. And his scene, oh, it's intense. Picture a warehouse, right? Lots of shady characters, arms dealers, weapons changing hands. And then, boom, a gunshot. And Red Hood walks in, guns blazing. 2 pistols taking down those criminals with scary precision. His face is hidden behind this red helmet, but his eyes, they're cold. No mercy. He grabs a rifle, checks it out. And with his grim smile, he says, "Time to clean up the streets. My way." And the scene ends with the warehouse in flames. He just watches it burn, no emotion. Hero. Vigilante. Hard to say.
Yeah, Red Hood, he blurs those lines. He's fighting crime, but his methods, his motivations, it makes you question the whole hero thing, you know?
Yeah, let me see think. And then, of course, there's the Joker. You can't have a Batman story without him, right?
Yeah.
And this time, he's not just content with escaping Arkham. He's playing these new heroes, pitting them against each other.
Classic Joker. Chaos is his game. But the way he does it here, it feels fresh. He's planting seeds of doubt, manipulating situations to make them question each other's motives. It's psychological warfare.
It is. And it all leads to this epic showdown.
Yay.
The Joker unleashes this villain who, get this, controls technology. Talk about relevant to our world. Right? It's like all our fears about data and surveillance wrapped up in one bad guy.
And that's what's so brilliant about this villain. It's a threat we all understand. This battle, it's not just about saving Gotham. It's about fighting for privacy, for freedom.
And the heroes, they do win, but it comes at a price. The treatment talks about scars. Physical, emotional. We don't know, but it implies lasting consequences, which adds so much depth.
Exactly. It's not just a happy ending, you know. These heroes, they're changed by this fight. It's that lasting impact that elevates this story beyond just another action movie.
Totally agree. And then we get this time jump to the epilogue, an older Bruce Wayne, and he's encouraging Dick Grayson to keep fighting the good fight. It's such a powerful image of mentorship, of legacy.
It really brings the story full circle. This fight for justice, it never ends. It's a torch being passed.
Oh, and we can't forget about those casting suggestions. Timothy Chalamet as Robin. I mean, interesting choice, right?
Very interesting. But, you know, I think it could work. Chalamet, he can do vulnerable, he can do inner turmoil, perfect for a young man grappling with this huge legacy.
So, what do we have? A story packed with action, mystery, and some real emotional weight. This new generation, they're facing down their own demons. They're dealing with a world obsessed with technology, all while trying to live up to the legend of Batman.
And it makes you think, you know, what will define this new generation? Will they be able to step out of Batman's shadow and forge their own path? That's the question, isn't it? And it's not just for them. It's a question for all of us.
That's a good place to leave it, I think.
I think so, too.
Gotham City, always leaving us with more questions than answers. Until next time.
See you then.